Welcome to our very last leadership series of the semester. Glad you're here with us. We have a special treat today. Our presenter is Christine Prescott. She is a principal in Rio Rancho Schools and one of those amazing practitioners that is doing amazing things in her building and for her staff, helping her staff grow and develop and building a really positive culture. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Christine.
Thank you, Leanne. Hi, everybody. Like Leanne said, I'm Christine Prescott, and I am very excited to be here today. This is my, sixth year as a principal, and prior to that, I was 5 years here as the assistant principal. So I've been very lucky to be at my school for 11 years, and I'm honored to be here. And I'm super excited that all of you are joining us today, and what a journey you're on. It's a great journey. It's every day is very different. Just so you know, I'm sure you already have had all those experiences and seen all the different things. But I am just excited to be here, and I'm excited that you are wanting to know more and learn more and be part of such a huge responsibility, I guess you could say, for all of our kids. I am very low key. If you have questions or anything, please raise your hand, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have. Very informal here, but just wanted to share some thoughts with all of you today about school culture and how that can really impact PLCs. And at Vista Grande, we take a lot of pride in our school, and we work really, really closely together, but it does take a lot of work with trust and being honest with one another. So we're going to go through some things today. Like I said, very informal. Please feel free to unmute, raise your hand, ask questions, and just let me know if you need anything. And I believe that you're going to receive a PDF of the presentation today. So there are some books referenced in here. There's some great videos referenced, although some of them are old. They're very valid and some of my favorites, and they're still true to this day. So, all right, well, let's get started. Okay. Selena, you're going to change it for me. Sorry, I forgot, right? Or I was sharing my screen. Never mind. All right, see?
You're good.
It's been a long day, people. Okay. All right, so I'm going to share I'm sharing my screen right now. I'm going to flip through the slides. And then when the videos pop up, we had some issues with my sound on the videos. So we're going to try it, and then Selena's going to share and do all those kind of things. We're going to figure it out as we go. All right, everybody. Let's see if I can get it done. There we go. All right, on a scale of, okay, so this is an example. When we have staff meetings or we are in a big group, a lot of times I like to start the meeting kind of with a little humor. And I think we can all see ourselves in these llamas and alpacas. So on a scale of llamas and alpacas, how are you feeling today? When we hear from our people in the meetings, then we kind of get a pulse of how everybody's feeling. So I would say for me today, I kind of went through several of the pictures on the screen. I started the day as number 2. Really excited to be here. We have a lot of great things happening on our campus. I've kind of since moved to number 7. And the reason I say that is because we had some significant plumbing emergencies today, and also some student behaviors that were, a little concerning, and then, just all the stress. So this is a great way to start. We've done other pictures, other things, just kind of as funny. We know that the jobs that are in our schools are so tough and so demanding, and that can go from our teachers, special education, general education, educational assistants, support staff, custodial staff, our cafeteria staff. Everybody on campus plays this huge role. And I really, truly believe that it is getting harder, no matter whose job it is or what their responsibilities are every day. It has changed drastically in the past for me as a building leader in the last 11 years. I've just seen it change. So we have seen, and I'm sure you guys are all seeing it as well, that our student behaviors have increased. I don't think that we're alone at our school. I mean, I hear from others, but we have students who are more physically aggressive, more verbally aggressive, um, just in the past few years prior, rather than like 10 years ago. So along with that, we have seen an uptick in, concerns from guardians, whether it's their behavior on campus or it's, verbal, like physically, written emails to you, or even some physical things that could happen on campus. So I just want you to think about on your campuses, what are some things that you are experiencing, and if you would like to unmute and kind of throw in some things, that's great. We can talk about those things a little bit. And if you're seeing the same things, then, give a high five. Anybody want to talk about it? It's okay. You can be brave.
Justin, go ahead.
I have two little boys that go to your school, and
I see you.
yeah, and I think you guys are just great. My wife and I are both educators, and everybody says hi, and it's kind of refreshing to walk into a building where people are happy. So kudos to you and what you're doing in your school building.
Thanks, Justin. We love your boys. And Justin, if you need some time to you can come up and work at Vista Grande a little bit. Just let me know. That's so fun. So, I know everybody is experiencing so many different things, and I just want to honor where everybody is. Like, we are all feeling it. We're all experiencing all of the things. You're not alone. And one of the things, what we're going to talk about in here is, connecting with the people on your campus and connecting with your leadership teams and the people that that you can trust and bounce ideas off of. So we're gonna get into that too. Janelle, did you want to say something?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I was just gonna say two of and I'm sure it's across the state, but our attendance problems and our ditching problems, basically with students tardies. And so that seems to be the number one thing that we are experiencing a lot and do have a lot of concerns about. It's just those three areas.
Yeah, thank you so much for letting me know that too. The ditching, as far as elementary, we don't have that issue as much, thankfully, but the attendance concerns are real. Yeah, definitely. We have seen that. And Peggy, I just noticed that you said the increased demand and need for behavioral health supports. That's so huge. I mean, I will tell you, most of my day is spent with students who really need support with all types of their mental health or their mental well-being, or like how they're feeling. That's a lot of part of my day. So yeah, totally. So I think we all know that we're all feeling the same things. And then that just leads us to where we are as school leaders. Like, what is our job? You know what? When I was first here as an assistant principal, when I was hired, I was like, sweet, I'm going to be in classrooms all the time. I'm an instructional leader. I'm in a no curriculum and all the things. Yes, while that's super important, we have to do that. And we do that to the best of our ability. Sometimes in our day that is shifted a little bit so that we have that, because in my heart of hearts, are the well-being of our staff and the well-being of our students takes precedent, and then everything else comes later. So we're going to continue to look at that. I know that our people need us every day, all the time. Adults don't typically ask for help, but we have to be there for them for sure. So my door is closed actually, and it feels weird that my office door is closed because it's rarely closed because I always want to be available for our people. So if you see me being like, my door's closed, that's just where my brain is right now. Okay, let's move on. When the first time I was asked to work with CES on school culture, I was really excited because we have built such a great school culture at our school. And that goes from having a strong staff who want to be here, who want to be together, who want to learn from each other, to our students. It all trickles down right to the students and to our families. And welcome everybody here and make sure that everybody knows they have a place here. We know that school culture impacts everything on campus. It impacts how, when you have to roll out a new initiative, how your staff feels about it and how they take it. Because if the culture at your school isn't great, there's going to be a lot of questions and a lot of issues on like trust, right? Like they're going to be like, why are we having to do this? Why do we have to do this? Why do we have to do that? But if that culture is strong, then typically when it's rolled out, it feels like that people can work together and they're like, okay, we can do this. This is going to be great. So I've seen that, we have things that happen every single day on this campus. Right. And so when you have a strong culture and a strong team, we can bounce ideas off each other and really work together as a cohesive unit to solve those problems.
7 is here.
Sorry, I forgot to turn off my radio. See, I can't get away. All right. Okay. So I'm not going to read everything to you guys because you guys are leaders and you know what to do, and you're going to get a copy of all these slides too. As we talk about culture, that rolls into the PLCs. So I do think they go hand in hand. And PLCs is not new for you guys. I know you guys all know about PLCs, but we started really implementing PLCs strongly about 3-4 years ago. And I'll tell you, it takes some time. It takes some time to build. Again, it's part of that trust and it's part of working together really well. So you can see that the major parts of the PLCs focusing on that learning and instruction is really strong collaboration. And then we look at that data and that progress that our students are making. You guys can see that with PLCs, we know relationships matter. I will say relationships about 50 times during this presentation today because that is the epitome of everything. Is trusting each other, listening, empowering our staff, empowering our teachers. Our teachers are awesome. Our staff, amazing. They know what they're doing. How can we work with them and empower them and let them do what they need to do? Because they are the experts in the room on their students, because their parents are too, but their parents are at PLCs, right? So they are the experts on the curriculum and the students and the interventions that kids need and require. And then also having that trust allows for teams to have that productive struggle together. So really knowing and working together on making all of us be better educators too. All right. What do you guys think has to be in place to ensure strong PLCs?
Some are popping up in the chat. So there's norms and structure so far.
Yes, for sure. Norms. It is hard to implement norms with adults too. Like I know that because we all want to chat. We all want to talk about each other's families and all the things, but having those norms are really, really important.
There's also consistency, time, trust, the willingness by staff, community building opportunities for sense of safety, high expectations of purpose, buy-in by staff, trust and solution-based.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, hi, Shelly. I see Shelly's RRPS too. Okay, yeah, absolutely. All of these are exactly, that was all in my brain too. So, oh, I actually moved? I was talking, you guys, and I kept going. Hold on. Sorry.
That's okay. So on the bottom left-hand side, if you use your mouse, you can go back. It's a lot easier with Zoom. Just hit the back button.
Our PS people, I am used to using Google, and it's different for this. So sorry about that. Okay. Yes. So everything you guys wrote in there, you are so spot on. It's you guys already know what you're doing. But that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today. And Stephanie Lopez, I did notice your comment of time. Time is everything. Time is everything. I will tell you guys, as future leaders of school, building leaders in a school, giving time back to staff is so vital. We want to do that PD. We want to do, we have to do some things. We have to do other things. And we have all this PD and all these things we want to do with our staff, but they want time and they need time. Just like we all need time to do all of our things to do. Okay. All right, I'm going to stop over clicking. The first thing that I wanted to go over is being present and visible. My number one, so I have a new assistant principal this year. She's wonderful. And the first day that she was on campus as our assistant principal, the number one thing I said to her is, at Vista Grande, we never ask other people to do anything that we wouldn't do. So that means that goes from every job on this campus, right? So we have subbed, we take out the trash. I have learned how to turn off a toilet from overflowing. You have to get in there and get your hands dirty and just do everything. When they see us out in the school and they see us, with a student who's really struggling, or taking out trash because a custodian called in, or doing all these different things, that promotes a level of trust. And they see that we're in it together. And I know that sounds cheesy, but it works. Today we had a plumbing emergency. And so there seems to be several plumbing emergencies that come up, but those are the ones that always stick out in my head. So asking your people to do things, but you need to be willing to do them yourselves too. I also truly believe that all the kids at your school need to know who you are. So being outside in the front when they arrive, high-fiving them, knowing their names, very important. Kids beam when you say, "Good morning, so-and-so, how was your night? Did you have fun at baseball? Did you have a good soccer game?" Just knowing their names and knowing something about them is really, really just vital for them to feel like a sense of belonging in the school. With that also being said, knowing staff members' names. I know that sounds crazy, and that you probably already know all the people you work with and all their names. And I know we have big schools, but knowing staff members' names, that's really important. When they see us outside at duty, welcoming families, being at recess duty, working in the cafeteria, doing all the things, that helps them feel a sense of pride as well. And then once again, my open door policy. Like, I'm really struggling with my door being closed, but it is loud because it's dismissal time. But having that open door policy. And then building trust. You guys already know this. I feel like I'm preaching to the choir right now, but the strong communication, right? So I really, really try hard. Sometimes I lose track of days or whatever, but like that communication piece with families is so important. They want to know what's happening at the school. They want to know upcoming dates. They want to know, all the different happenings. So having strong communication with families, having strong communication with staff, and then just making sure your staff. Just to be honest, we have some very young teachers here, and I know their form of communication they prefer is by texting. So we text back and forth. That's just, that's how they prefer to communicate. Some of our other teachers, I know they prefer to have, phone calls on their work phone. And I also know that when they go home, they want to be home. So kind of knowing your people and knowing how to communicate best with them is really important too. Keeping their confidence, building people up. Every single person on campus, even if you're working with, teachers who are pretty new, everybody has greatness. And how can we build that greatness on what they already have? And then following through with uncomfortable conversations, that's going to happen. There's going to be uncomfortable conversations. That's just part of our job. But if you do it with dignity and following up on how they're feeling afterwards, that also can help build that trust. And then be open to their questions and concerns. You guys, every day I find out something that I need to know that they thought I knew, but I don't know, because they think we know everything, but we really don't know everything. And so when they talk to us about it and we're like, I had no idea. This is great. Thank you for telling me. Being open with that is sometimes it is hard when we're working our tails off and we're at the office and at school more than we are anywhere else. It is hard to sometimes hear some of the things that we hear, but really trying hard not to be defensive when we're hearing that. And then being fair, staff talk. That is just the name of the game, and that is okay. So being fair with, and families talk, and all the things. So discipline. If you're I don't even know, just be fair. Make sure if you're going to do something for someone, you got to do it for the other person. And I'm thinking people who want to take days of leave, all the different HR things. You have to be fair and consistent, and that will help build their trust. Okay. Relationships. I should have done a game with you guys on how many times I say the word relationships. That would have been fun. Okay, so we know that relationships matter, right? So we know that working on the relationships, being together is really important. That human piece, knowing everybody's human, is also really important. It's so nice to walk into your work community, and I'll see a staff member and I'll be like, Liz, how's your dog? I know that she just had surgery. How's she doing? All those things. Or, hey, Holly, your daughter had a ballet recital, things like that. It just makes such a difference. And it feels like when you have to have those uncomfortable conversations, it feels like it's a little bit more, you have a stronger relationship, so you can be vulnerable and you can have those deep conversations with. Let's see, during, when it's really high stress time around conferences, report card time, even the holidays can be really tough because we see student behavior increase. Checking in with your grade level teams, your team leads, the support staff, the social worker, the counselors, checking in with them and seeing how they're doing is really important. So in the mornings when I get to work, typically I come in, I plug in my computer because it needs to be plugged in and charged from the night before. And then I get out of my office and I go through and I see everybody who's here. Good morning. How are you? What do you need today? And you kind of find out a lot about people, and, sometimes you hear not feeling very well, Prescott. I might need to go home early. Thank you for letting us know. We can go ahead and be proactive and work on that. So whereas I wouldn't have seen or known about that if I hadn't gotten out of my office, right when I got here. So just thinking about that, seeing and face to face with all of the staff. Okay, we're going to try and play our first video.
My question is how you would define the key characteristics of effective leadership that allow you to go and be an advocate for good.
Trust. The longer I have been in public service and the more people have asked me about leadership over the years, leadership ultimately comes down to creating conditions of trust within an organization. Good leaders are people who are trusted by followers. Leaders take organizations past the level that the science of management says is possible. One of my sergeants back in the infantry school at Fort Benning almost 50 years ago, which is where I learned everything I ever got to learn about leadership, was at the infantry school. And he said to me one day, he said, "Lieutenant, you'll know you're a good leader when people follow you, if only out of curiosity." I've never had a better definition. Because what he was saying, and I've seen it experienced in my life so many times. What he was saying is they trust you. And you have built up that trust. How did you do it? Clear mission and statement, selfless service. People look to you and they trust you because you're serving selflessly as the leader, not self-serving, selflessly. And that you prepare the followers, you train them. You give them what they need to get the job done. Don't give them a job if you're not going to give them the resources, and that you're prepared to take the risks with them. And so they would teach us at the infantry school, no matter how cold it is, Lieutenant, you must never look cold. No matter hungry you all are, Lieutenant, you must never appear hungry. No matter how terrified you are, Lieutenant, you must never look terrified. Because if you are scared, terrified, hungry, and cold, they will be scared, terrified, hungry, and cold. I've gotten away with that many, many times in the course of my career by being scared to death, cold, and wanting to go to sleep. But no, let's go. Let's keep going. Let's go around this corner, if only out of curiosity. And they'll follow you into the darkest night, down the deepest valley, up the highest hill, if they trust you. So the essence of leadership is about doing all that the science of management says you can with resources, but then taking that extra step and giving it that spark. And that spark comes from getting people to trust you so that they will follow you, if only out of curiosity. Thank you.
So my wife.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. All right. So I know Colin Powell, that was a video from a long time ago, but the thing that caught my interest when I was creating this presentation is that following you for curiosity, because I think that keeping people on their toes is great. A lot of times people are like, "All right, Prescott, what's your idea? What are you doing?" So out of curiosity, and then sparking, he talked about the spark. How are we going to spark and create that spark and really ignite that curiosity and that trust, right? So being people centered is like the main thing. Relationships. Alrighty. Let's see. There we go. All right. So along with that trust, we have that mutual respect, right? We're going to treat humans as humans. We're all humans. I say that all the time. I'm a human. You're a human. We're going to treat humans like humans should be treated. I know that my job title in this school is principal. I am responsible for everything that happens on this campus. I take full responsibility for. But with that being said, then we also have to be linked and not ranked, in my humble opinion. While I know I am this building's leader and this school's principal, and I take a lot of pride and I'm honored to be that person. With that, I know that walking side by side with my people and I say my people, but like our people, is so important, right? They have to see us doing the hard things. They have to know that we're humans, and they have to remember that we were in their shoes at one point. I was a third grade teacher for a really long time. I loved it. And I still like to go into classrooms and teach a lesson or read some books because I want to remember what it was like to be a teacher. I never want to forget that. We need to value our staff members' time. I think Stephanie, I think the name? I said time before in the comments. Time is valuable and precious, right? Really valuing the time. We start meetings on time, we end on time. And they know, everybody on this campus knows that if our meeting starts at 8:15, we are starting at 8:15. So it's really important. Honoring the negotiated agreement. You know, I am so thankful that, and at least in Rio Rancho, I don't know any other district. I've only worked in Rio Rancho. We have a very strong bond as district office and with our union. And that's so important. So I want to honor that negotiated agreement, and I want to always know. I read it all the time, make sure that we're following whatever it says, because that's really that helps with that mutual respect, right? And then recognizing that balance is key. Balance is key. Some days we're going to be our best. Some days we're not going to be our best. You know, we may have a child that was up all night throwing up, and then we come to work. That could be a really hard day for me. And so how would I recognize that, you know, I am struggling today? I've had to have a lot of coffee, and having everybody know that, but knowing that balance, you know, I need to be balanced or be help balance or balance myself. So balance is key. Listening and being inclusive. All right. So this is really important and encompasses all stakeholders in your building. Staff, students have a lot to say. They have great ideas. Sometimes they do want swimming pools, and we know that's not always an option. That was my favorite. But they have lots of ideas. Our parents and guardians, they are the experts on their kids. They have great ideas, really pulling them in and hearing from them and valuing what they have to say. We recently just sent out a survey to our community. Our staff got a survey, our community got the survey, and then our students, third graders through fifth graders got a survey, and really taking time to read the feedback, right? So valuing what they all have to say. And then keeping that a judgment-free zone, right? I mean, sometimes when we are in our own little world and we think that we can solve all the problems certain ways, it's nice to hear other people's opinions, and sometimes like there's some great ideas out there. So keeping it really judgment free, and then just in valuing everybody. Like I said, feedback forms are great, and we just sent out surveys. That was really, really valuable. We received all of that information 2 days ago, and I've already poured through it just to see all the feedback and what we can do better, what we're doing great. And so really understanding that and working with that. Okay, Simon Sinek is awesome. This is from, I think it's like 2009. Still really, really makes a lot of sense. Now, he is not an educator, but he does talk about leadership, and he talks about it in a business sense. I know public schools and schools in general, we don't like to be seen as businesses. We do have a lot of things in common, though. So we have a lot of people we serve. We have a lot of things, you know, a curriculum, goals that we sell. And I know that sounds kind of weird, but you know, there are some similarities. So while he's not an educator, he does talk about some businesses. He has really great things to say. I also want to put a caveat in. For the past couple of years, I know like knowing your why has been like a big no-no because people got really tired of that after COVID. But it really is important. Like this piece, it still, for me, it still brings back like, oh yeah, we have to look at these certain things from this way of like why we're doing it, and the how, and then the what. So this is a good one too. So we're just going to look at this, and then we'll come back. So you're going to share, right, Selena?
Yep. Right before I share, I was just gonna let you know that there's a question in the chat.
Oh, sure.
You could address it whenever you want. Whenever you want, though.
Okay. Let me see. Oh, how often do I survey staff? That is a great question. So we send out 2 surveys the district sends out 2 surveys a year to staff in the beginning of the year and the end of the year. And then we do like different quick feedback forms. I would say once a month. Yeah, once a month. Yeah, just to kind of get the pulse and see how everybody's feeling.
How do you explain when things don't go as we assume? Or better, how do you explain when others are able to achieve things that seem to defy all of the assumptions? For example, why is Apple so innovative? Year after year after year after year, they're more innovative than all their competition. And yet they're just a computer company. They're just like everyone else. They have the same access to the same talent, the same agencies, the same consultants, the same media. Then why is it that they seem to have something different? Why is it that Martin Luther King led the civil rights movement? He wasn't the only man who suffered in a pre-civil rights America, and he certainly wasn't the only great orator of the day. Why him? And why is it that the Wright brothers were able to figure out controlled powered manned flight when there were certainly other teams who were better qualified, better funded, and they didn't achieve powered manned flight, and the Wright brothers beat them to it? There's something else at play here. About 3.5 years ago, I made a discovery, and this discovery profoundly changed my view on how I thought the world worked, and it even profoundly changed the way in which I operate in it.
Did it cut off? Did it cut off already?
It went to a commercial. I thought it was finished, so.
Oh, yeah, it didn't have commercials before. I'm wondering, since it's so old, if they added in commercials. That's okay. I can talk about it really fast. That's totally fine.
Okay.
Let me share my screen again. Okay. Basically, he talks about how looking at the, how we think about our why, and like, this is why we are educators, because we love kids, right? It's looking at it in a different way. So knowing your end goal and then kind of going backwards. So, he started off on the video talking about with Apple and how there's some of the same technology, and then it kind of looks the same, but really it's not the same. That's how I think about it with our school. So we all have the same goal, and we all have the same resources, right? At least I'm thinking about RRPS, or my district, and how, like, what makes us different and what makes us stand out. So that clip basically, and I would encourage you to look up his TED Talk. His TED Talk, I believe, is from 2009. So it's really old, but the things that he says is valuable. So the why behind all of the decisions we make as school leaders. Yes, we want our students to grow in not only academic goals, but in their social emotional goals, and just being part of society, and all of that. But why? What are we going to do for that? Selena?
There's another question in the chat.
Yeah.
The question's the same each month, or do they vary? Are the surveys anonymous?
Oh, that's a great question. Okay, so they vary. It could be from, what kind of things do you need from me this month? What they vary. I typically, and I talk to our staff very openly about this, I typically don't do anonymous surveys. I have done them in the past, and our results are the same. But my main point is, and I tell people this all the time, or I tell our staff this all the time, is I want to do better. So if you need something from me, I want to know who that is. I'm not judging you. I'm not upset with you. I really don't get upset very easy. And so they typically are not anonymous. We have sent out anonymous surveys to our staff, Well, the two that the district sends out in the fall and right, like that just happened, and then one will happen in the spring. Those are anonymous, because the district wants to make sure to get a full view of what's happening on our campus, from our staff members' perspective of like my leadership, my assistant principal, and all the things that are happening. So those are anonymous. I should clarify that. Sorry. The ones that come from me are not typically anonymous, so that I can fix or help what they need and kind of change things around, if that makes any sense. Okay. Oh man. Okay. So that was a great question. Thank you so much for asking that. Go watch Simon Sinek. He's great. He's it's awesome. All right. So teamwork and collaboration. It is, so I've had to work really, really hard at this. When I came to Vista Grande was a really high functioning performing school when I got here too. I was very lucky to join a school that had great people. Some of those people are still here, that had great systems in place and all of the things. And so when I took over as principal, my first year as principal was 2020. In 2019, 2020. So my first year experiencing my principalship here, we shut down in March. That was crazy. You guys all remember that. And we were very fortunate to have such a strong team here that we pushed and we were able to get our kids back on campus in the fall. And so my point being is having team leaders for your grade level teams, your support staff, your EAs, it's so important because we all work together so hard on that. I will say that when I first started leadership, I always wanted to have people on our leadership team with like that didn't always like question me. Like, and I don't mean that like weird, but like I wanted to be able to have this team that like all gelled together and we all had the same, common thoughts. And then as I grew in leadership and I really started to understand people and our staff, I realized that I needed people who are different than me and had different thoughts and opinions than me on our leadership team so that we could have strong discussions. We all have a common purpose, and that's our students, and we all have common goals, and that's our students growing. But how that happens, very different thoughts and ideas. So just put that in your back pocket and think about that. And then, it's when you choose different leaders for your leadership team, choosing people like I do, we rotate every 3 years. And so choosing different people to be the grade level leaders, the support staff leaders, the EA leader is really important because then that starts to build the leaders from the whole school. So then you start building all these people up at the same time. And then working, that helps everybody's confidence. Part of what makes Vista Grande so great, in my humble opinion, is that no matter what anyone's job title anyone is doing on our campus, everyone is important. Every single person on this school and I say this every day, every time I see staff, every single person here who is part of our school staff is important, vital, right? So we know what happens to a school when we don't have all of our custodians here. We know what happens when we don't have our counselors here. We know what happens when we have to find 13 classrooms for subs for 13 classrooms, right? We all feel it. It makes a difference. Making sure you're valuing the work that people are doing. I literally say this all the time, and you can ask anyone who works here. Our educational assistants, we would not be able to have a functioning school without our educational assistants. They are honestly really one of the strongest pieces of the backbone of our school. And let me tell you why. Sometimes they are with our students who have the most needs. They sub in classrooms. They, are outside at duty. They will literally do anything we need and ask of them because they know they're valued, and I tell them all the time how valued they are, right? But unfortunately, we have different people in our different educational assistants, other people in our schools that the overarching community, and I'm not talking about our own school community with our families, I'm talking about in general, they don't seem as valued, right? We think about teachers all the time, but we have all these other people on our campus that work just as hard and really give their all every day. So going back, really valuing everybody's role is important. So I think, thank you, Justin. Thank you, Shelly. Yay. You guys are awesome. You're going to make me smile the rest of the day. Yeah, we do something, and Shelly, you brought that up. Thank you. We do something called it's a Grizzly staff recognition, and it's a form, and it's on the bottom of my email signature. I also send out on our family communication weekly. I try to do it weekly or maybe once a month or every other week. And it's basically a form that our families can fill out, and you can recognize a staff member. So we have families who fill it all the time. It comes to us on a form. It notifies me when a response comes in, and then we print it out. And we put the staff member's face, like a picture of their face, and then we put it on our Hall of Fame that's out here by the staff lounge. And I'm just pointing that way because you guys are all with me right now. And so it's really fun to see that. It's great to see our teachers be recognized, EAs, custodial staff, cafeteria staff, our support staff. So anyway, that is awesome. We love that. That's great. Do you guys have anything that you do at your schools that promotes collaboration and value and teamwork amongst at your schools?
And you are welcome to unmute. I'll look for your unmute.
You guys probably all kind of do similar stuff.
There's a few in the chat now. Do you want me to read them or?
Sure. Oh, hi, Nicole.
At MCE, we have staff shout outs on a board. We honor our staff on our pecocyber.org website and in newsletters. What do you do when a staff member doesn't want the recognition publicly?
Oh, that's a great question. So I do know that we have some staff members who are very private, but I do think that that's part of just getting to know your staff. So the two staff members that come to mind immediately when we've had them be recognized through the form, I asked them straight out, would you like me to put this on the board? And one of them said yes, and one of them said no. So honestly, it's getting to know your people, but they also know, our staff know that they can ask me anytime or tell me anytime, hey, can you take that down? Or no, thank you. Or, I think that's part of that trust, right? And getting to know your people. I know of a staff member that she doesn't like her pictures taken, and we know that. So we honor that, that's part of it.
And there's some more. We have an Fry mention board where teachers can write affirmations to other teachers on fry shaped paper. Oh, okay. Fryamation, like animation. Okay, I got it. And then we have behavioral school, and we have implemented mental health services for the staff on Fridays, where we debrief over the week. We have teacher of the month. Our school website highlights teachers and staff. We also have a monthly award for staff that is chosen by a Google form that teachers fill out, and the award goes around each month. And lastly, we have admin recognizes at least 2 staff members in our weekly communication to the staff.
That's awesome. Great. Tommy, I just want to highlight your work at a school with significant behavior needs, and that's amazing. So thank you for what you do, and that you've implemented mental health services for staff on Fridays. I can't tell you enough. That's truly amazing, because I think that people who don't work in schools, they don't realize all the mental toll that our staff feel and take on from some of the things that we have to deal with for loving our students and wanting our students to feel safe and be safe at school. And so thank you for what you do. I appreciate that. Okay, so also empowering stakeholders. I'm going to let you guys read through this. You guys know we've already talked a little bit about some of these things. How to work as a team, right? Like, nobody's better than anybody else. Everybody has great ideas and thoughts about things, and then, how we can all work together as a team. I said again, like, humans, we treat humans like humans here at our school. But it's also okay to be human too. So I have found, and this may be a little different at where you work, but at our school, that me showing that it's okay for me to be a human, and I make mistakes, and I have the same emotions, and I have family and friends, and we all kind of go through that. I have noticed that when I am vulnerable, or I am, kind of going through things, that it's okay to talk about it with our staff, right? I never want them to see our administrators here, me and Ms. Leonard, as robots, because we're not, right? I have 2 kids. I have a dog that I love that I had to take to the vet the other day. They need to see us as humans too, and being authentic, right? So like knowing that we're kind of going through the same things, and then engaging with and communicating with families. Our families bring their best, and their best are their children, every single day, and trust us with their kids every single day at our school. And so, just really valuing that. And then I know that it's really, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, but balance, right? It is so important for us as leaders to show that we're balancing our lives too. So when I go home on the weekends, I want to see my kids, and I really want to be present with my kids, and really working with our staff on that, and emphasizing when we're at work, we're working, right? This is our job. This is what we do. When we're at home, that's your personal life, right? It's okay. You should not feel bad about being there for your kids and present, and work can come later. So really showing that piece too, and how to balance that. Okay, I hope this one also shows up as well. We have done, in our district, we have done a lot of work with Brene Brown, and I do really appreciate her and what she says with this. Now, in this one, she talks about vulnerability. And I'll tell you that I think that with vulnerability, that really strengthens those relationships around you, right? Like, once again, being that vulnerable person and saying, I don't understand, or I'm feeling this way. I'm feeling great because of all these things, showing your emotions and all of that, that can really, really help people form bonds with you, and that trust piece. So we will see if this one plays. Hopefully there's no commercials.
Vulnerability is not weakness. And that myth is profoundly dangerous. I define vulnerability as emotional risk exposure, uncertainty, it fuels our daily lives. And I've come to the belief, this is my 12th year doing this research, that vulnerability is our most accurate measurement of courage.
We think about vulnerability as a dark emotion. You know, there are a lot of people who talk about positive emotions, negative emotions, dark emotions, light emotions. We think of vulnerability as a dark emotion. We think of it as the core of fear and shame and grief and disappointment, uncertainty, things that we do not want to feel, right? Things that I don't want to be vulnerable because that means I'm afraid. That means I'm uncertain. That means I'm at risk. I'm exposed. I'm in grief. So what we do is we armor up and we say, I do not want to slip into these dark emotions. I will not let myself be vulnerable. When you armor up in this hallway, you shut yourself off from everything that you do and that you love. Because vulnerability is certainly a part of fear and self-doubt and grief and uncertainty and shame, but it's also the birthplace of these. It's the birthplace of love, of belonging, of joy, trust, empathy, creativity, and innovation. Without vulnerability, you cannot create.
So let me go on the record and say, vulnerability is the birthplace of innovation, creativity, and change. To create is to make something that has never existed before. There's nothing more vulnerable than that. Adaptability to change is all about vulnerability.
Imagine creativity and innovation without vulnerability. I'm asking you for a work product that has never been made before, that's completely innovative. I need you to be creative, and I need you to present it to a group of people who are half of them are gonna think it's stupid and not understand it. No vulnerability there. It is not about winning, it's not about losing, it's about showing up and being seen. The second thing, this is who I want to be. I want to create. I want to make things that didn't exist before I touched them. I want to show up and be seen in my work and in my life. And if you're going to show up and be seen, there is only one guarantee, and that is you will get your ass kicked. That is the guarantee. That's the only certainty you have. If you're going to go in the arena and spend any time in there whatsoever, especially if you've committed to creating in your life, you will get your ass kicked. So you have to decide at that moment, I think for all of us, if courage is a value that we hold, this is a consequence. You can't avoid it. The third thing, which really set me free, and I think Steve, my husband, would argue has made me somewhat dangerous, is kind of a new philosophy about criticism, which is this. If you're not in the arena also getting your ass kicked, I'm not interested in your feedback. Period. That's it. You know, if you have constructive information, feedback to give me, I want it. And I'm an academic. I'm hardwired for wrestling around with stuff like that. If you say, hey, you forgot all this literature, or hey, you should have done this, or terrible sentence construction over here, like, let's do it. I love that. But if you're in the cheap seats, not putting yourself on the line, and just talking about how I could do it better, I'm in no way interested in your feedback.
And I know it's seductive to stand outside the arena because I think I did it my whole life and think to myself, I'm going to go in there and kick some ass when I'm bulletproof and when I'm perfect. And that is seductive. But the truth is, that never happens. And even if you got as perfect as you could and as bulletproof as you could possibly muster, when you got in there, that's not what we want to see. We want you to go in. We want to be with you and across from you. And we just want for ourselves and for the people we care about and the people we work with to dare greatly. So thank y'all very much. I really appreciate it.
I'm sorry about the words in some of those videos. I forgot. Sorry. But it's so true. Like she's right, right? Like the cheap seats, like be side by side with your people on your campuses, right? We can't be in the cheap seats if we're going to help. We have to be down there and in the arena with our people at all times. And this leads us straight into safety. Safety is huge right now. I mean, obviously it always has been, but even more so in our world right now. So it is besides relationships, it is the top priority in our school. Yes, academics is important. Yes, instructional practices are important, but safety is the number one important, right? Kids and staff and our families are not going to feel safe at school or sending their kids to school if we don't have safety as our top priority. And, with staff members, that doesn't mean just physical safety, that means emotional safety as well. Same thing for students, right? We just got, like I said, we just got our survey back. And one of the questions on there for all three, staff, students, and our parent community, was about how safe do you feel at school? How safe does your child feel at school? It's so important, right? Part of that safety piece and part of our job, like I was talking about earlier, how we wear all these hats that we didn't realize, we were going to need to know how to be plumbers and electricians sometimes, like all these things, right? We didn't realize we were going to have to do that when we got into these positions. Is submitting work orders. I know that seems small, but it's so important. Think about the teacher that is in the room that is 59 degrees, right? That doesn't feel safe if she's in a room with 25 kids for all day and the room is 59 degrees, right? We have to submit those work orders in a timely manner. And then that visibility on campus, right? So, we have threats on our campuses, like verbal threats. We have some of those things that happen quite a bit. When parents know that that's happening, because, we send out communications, whatever, they need to see you outside and in the front of the school. And that just helps that visibility and helps them feel safer with sending their kids to school, right? And I tell parents all the time, and I tell our staff all the time, well, they already know, but I have a 4th grader that goes to my school, right? I have an 8th grader now. He went to school here starting in kindergarten. I'm going to bring my kids to school. I know our school is safe because I know that I want my child here and I feel safe with him, for him to be on our campus. That's super, super important. And then going over safety procedures and protocols. Now we have that physical safety piece, but we also have the emotional and the vulnerability piece of feeling safe with our people. And that leads us, we're almost there, people. That leads us into the PLCs. Okay. So we have to have everything that we've been talking about for the past hour. We have to have that first. All of that has to come first because our PLCs will not be a really strong functioning PLCs and collaborative team meetings, whatever you call it at your school, without having all of those things first: the trust, the vulnerability, the honesty, the emotional safety, the openness, all the things. Okay, so but we will see. We might just put this link in the chat, and then you guys can look at that later because it goes into a little bit more details. But I do have a feeling that most of you know what PLCs are. I mean, that's kind of the thing we're moving towards. But basically, as you guys mentioned earlier in the very beginning of this presentation, a lot of you we mentioned in the chat the things that you see in PLCs. That we need in PLCs, I should add. Norms, having the same vision and goals and data, all those things. So when we have strong PLCs, then our students are growing. When our students are growing academically, then we start making so much more progress, right? As a school. And then, we have the trust, and we have all of the things coming together from our community. So I really do think that PLCs, while we have all those other things first, the trust, the relationships, the humans, treating humans like humans, and then we have PLCs, and then we have a strong school. So it kind of just goes in that order, in my opinion, my humble opinion. One thing I want to make sure is at our school, and it has worked very well. While I wish that I could clone myself sometimes and that I could be everywhere I wanted to be at all times, I know that's not possible, unfortunately. But it is important to attend PLCs. Grade levels do need times by themselves to just be them without an administrator present. But being at PLCs and hearing the conversations and looking at the data and talking about students who may need extra support in any facet of their education. It's so important for you to be there because you are going to know the kids, you're going to know the families, and you're going to know what those kids need. So to be part of that. So that is really important. At our school, we work really hard to be at all the PLCs. So our assistant principal, myself, our instructional coach, our SEAL, which is our special education leader, we work really hard to be at all the PLCs so that we can know what's going on. And it's really nice to be there. And then they can ask us questions and whatever else they need. Okay. In a PLC, it's, we talked about the most important things. We have the vision and the values, right? Everybody comes together who's pretty, really different. And that's what makes a school great. And that's what makes a grade level great, right? So how do we build that shared commitment together? Having a strong team leader for the grade level teams or the support staff or the content teams, that's really, really important to lead those discussions. Because while we are there sometimes, we're not there all the time. And you need a strong leader in that to lead those. So then we need to make sure that our grade levels are thinking about the kids' future. Sorry, my computer now wants to start doing funny things. Okay, so we want to make sure that we're working together, we're passionate, we're energetic, we come to the table with all these ideas, and then we talk about the mission and the vision and the values of our school. So all of our staff here have a copy and know our mission and our vision and our values of a school. Something I just thought about that, well, we have a document that we keep in our rooms, and we just keep it up on our bulletin boards or wherever the teachers want to keep it. So you could do something like that in your own schools. You can have all that listed pretty quickly and like in a bulletin form and make it pretty or whatever. And everybody can have that in their classrooms or offices or whatever they need to remind them about the vision of the school and of the grade level and for the kids. The four main questions of a PLC, you guys know this. This is not anything new. What do we want the students to know and be able to do? How will we know if they learn it? How will we respond when some students do not? And then how will we extend the learning for students who are already proficient? So in our PLCs, I talked earlier about our relationships at our school. I can honestly say that our staff is very close, very, very close. So when our grade levels get together, it sometimes is really hard to not talk about what they did last night or had for dinner or what they're planning for their partner's birthday, all those things, right? That's so hard not to do because we want to hear that too. But in a PLC, we really focus on these four questions. We have our grade level chairs. They have a document that they fill out. We don't ask them to look at all of these questions every PLC. We ask them to focus on one and really delve deep into that. So this is a really great book. If I know in our district, we really work through these books a lot. The learning by doing books. But if you have not had experience with this, I would highly recommend this book. Anything about the DeFores is great. So it's a great resource. Okay, accountability and celebration. We work our tails off, right? You heard Brene Brown, right? We work so hard when we're on campus. We are here. We have become educators in any facet of a school for a reason. We are working really hard to ensure that our kids succeed in all the things. While it may not just be academics, they may be working on regulation skills. They may be working on social emotional development, friendships, whatever it may be. Really talking about that and celebrating the small wins, celebrating the student. We had NWEA today, and I was on the playground at recess for duty, and that's my favorite place to be because that's where you see all the kids, and it's really cute for the most part, unless it's 5th grade, and then then you have to really watch for some of those behaviors. Anyway, I had so many kids run up to me today, and they were so excited about their growth on their math NWEA. Some kids ran up, arms open, wanting a hug, and so excited that they grew 1 point. But that 1 point is everything. And then you have other kids who are so excited because they grew 20 points. Celebrating those small wins. And for that child to know who to run to and who to be excited with, that makes it just the reason why we're here, right? So celebrating those small wins. Do that with your grade levels. Do that with the teachers who are working their tails off every single day. They have, one of our students who grew that 1 point. Celebrate that win with that teacher because that is everything, right? That 1 point could be everything, and it may be small, but it's growth. And then when you're, working with those PLCs, then really working over working together on, change is hard. Sometimes we have to change our instruction. We have to look at our best practices. We have to look at our instructional, how we're focusing our instruction, right? And every year is not the same. So change is hard. How are we going to work together on that? That can really come through during PLCs. So celebrating the small wins, change is hard. It's okay. And then how we're going to improve student achievement or whatever they need, and then monitoring all the things that we need. Part of that trust is working together to stay accountable, right? Working in grade level teams who feel that they have so much trust together and they can be vulnerable and they hold each other accountable, right? So that is also a great thing to see. When you get to visit PLCs and be part of that, it's really pretty cool. This leverage leadership book that's on here, that is a great one. It's also something that our district has used, and it's wonderful. I have it on my shelf. I refer to it. But this is a great reference and a great resource for you guys to have if you don't already have it already. All righty. I know that we've talked about PLCs. We've talked about all of the things prior to PLCs, what we need as a staff. And then we have talked about PLCs just a little bit. But then we also can talk about PBIS. I don't know if everybody uses it here and RRPS we do. It's positive behavior interventions and supports. And in the beginning of this, we talked about how student behavior has increased, where that can be physical aggression or verbal aggression or, insubordination or any, things like that. So we work really hard at our school to incorporate some interventions from PBIS. So, we give out a lot of positive rewards through the classroom, in the hallways, verbally. Kids can get recognized and be put on a wall of fame. Staff is recognized, like we said, all of the different things. One thing that really plays a big part into all of this is keeping trying to keep the learning environment as predictable as possible. So we have common language. We have that common vision. Our school environment is really positive. We did just like I said, I'm referencing this survey because that's what I've been focusing on the last 2 days, but we had great feedback from our students and from our staff and from our families about how positive our school is, right? And so, none of us want to go walking into a workplace that's not positive and doesn't feel good. So we really work hard at keeping it positive for us here. And then really important, our school environment is safe. Really safe. I do not tolerate, I'm going to say this one more time for everybody. I do not tolerate violent or disruptive behavior in the classroom. It is not tolerated. That's when I get involved, and I want to make sure everybody on our school campus is safe, including that student who is dysregulated, right? I spend a lot of time with them, and so does our assistant principal, and we make sure that that child is regulated before going back to class, right? So we want our school environment safe for everybody. And then the last thing is our school environment is consistent. We have very similar expectations. We say, give me 5. And it's to be respectful, responsible, safe, positive, and kind. And so our students know if we're in an assembly, give me 5, and they all raise their hand and they know exactly what those 5 things are. So that's just part of it. I know this doesn't have anything to do with like PLCs all the time, but it really does play a part. And then, we just work together on that. And then we talk about that in PLCs, I guess, too. So, okay. If y'all have any questions, please feel free to hit up the chat. Okay, so one of my most favorite people I follow, his name is Joe Sanfilippo. I'm not sure if anybody knows who he is. He is a former superintendent. He just retired. He was a superintendent of a small district in Wisconsin. And little known fact, their mascot is the crickets, which I find humorous, but he is amazing. He's dynamic, he's energetic, he loves humans, he loves education, but he just really wants to make a difference. So if you are on any social media, if you choose to do that, I'm not saying you should or have to or whatever, but if you are, I would follow Joe Sanfilippo. He's great. Look at him on YouTube. He does these 1-minute walk to work. And he has since retired from being superintendent, and now I believe he's like a speaker. Like he goes around the country and leads all these different educational leadership seminars and things. I actually was able to see him this summer in Nashville at the National Principals Conference, which was really cool. I felt like I was like, in the presence of, but what's really cool is this guy who was a teacher, and then he was a principal, and then a superintendent, and then, he's just awesome. So anyway, let's take a look at this 1-minute walk to work, and then we can talk about it after.
Yeah, and if everyone can just give me a thumbs up once I turn it on that you have good audio.
All right, everybody, Thursday afternoon, Fall Creek, Wisconsin, 1-minute walk at work, and here's what I'm thinking about today. So it's July 1st, which means that there are a lot of new superintendents and principals walking into their office for the first time to start a brand new career. And I thought, as I start my 11th year here, this might be a good time to just offer a couple pieces of advice for new leaders as they start in their new role. First and foremost, you don't know everything. And guess what? They know you don't know everything, so don't try to pretend to know everything, okay? It's okay that you don't know everything. The second thing is, the farther you get from the classroom, the harder it is to make suggestions about what could happen in that place. So make sure you stay connected there. The third thing is that people tell me all the time that all they want to do is hire great people and get out of the way. No, you don't. You're not a search firm, right? Hire great people, but then help them get better. And the last thing is, like, take the work seriously, but don't take yourself too seriously. This job can get really isolating and really lonely and really depressing unless you bring people along with you. It's a good job. It's a better job when you build a team. It's the best job when that team that you build, you know that work is impactful and helping others. Just gotta take care of each other. All right, people, that's all I got. We're all staying together, man. Have a great week and a great start to all the new superintendents and principals in their new career. Take care, everybody. Go Crickets!
All right. So he's pretty dynamic. It's fun to watch his videos because what he says is it's very valid to this presentation today, right? This discussion today. Your interaction with staff, students, families, it matters every day, right? We are so lucky to be in the positions that we're in, to be in the profession that we're in, that we get to make a difference every day, right? And it all starts with building the team here, building the team at school, building the community, building the students up, and then goes to the PLCs. Our kids make so many great gains and make progress, and then we see it all come together. So let's see. Let me just see you guys. Yeah, let's chat. This is pretty close to the end of what I have to say today. Let's talk about some of the ways that your schools build culture, and maybe we can talk about PLCs. You guys can ask questions. If anybody feels brave enough to, unmute and talk, that's awesome. If not, you can just focus on the chat.
Okay,
How do you get teachers and EAs to work as a team? That is a great question. I think that our teachers and EAs to work as a team, we do actually, I'm kind of thinking about how we do that, because we have to be really intentional. But sometimes the teams over the summer, we have people who go to different schools and like move around. You guys know what happens, right? And then sometimes we have to like throw people together and they're on a team and they have to, support some of our students who have the most significant needs. And then it gets really tough. And anyway, the first thing that I talk with them about is that we work with, like, we're so student focused, right? So when we're at work, we think about the student, we talk about the student or students, whoever may be on their caseload, and kind of go to that way. I'm really open with our people when they start working together. I sit them down. I should have said this. I also was a special education teacher, so I know how it is to be part of an inclusion team, which can be, pretty tough sometimes, right? Like, it's like a marriage that sometimes you're with those partners more than you are your actual partner, So anyway, I sit them down and I say, this is going to be hard, right? You are just getting to know each other. So remember, the open line of communication is important. Working together is important. And if at any point you need us to help with that, we are here and there is no judgment. So that's kind of how we started out, and then checking in with them frequently. Oh yes, and I will if you email me, I will email you the Grizzly staff recognition form. And then that way you have a copy. That's fine. That's totally fine.
Next
sorry.
question. Oh no, go ahead. If you want to read them, you're good. You can do it if you want.
Oh yeah, we can work together on that. Okay, so what are your strategies for promoting equity on your campus? Do you mean students or staff or everyone? I think if it's for staff, it's just really making sure you're listening to everybody, and you're making sure you're listening to everybody, and what everybody needs, right? So making sure that all of our EAs get their duty-free lunch. All of our staff get their duty-free lunch. All of our students get what they need. Like as far as, health-wise, food-wise, where they're sitting in the classroom. So that's a big part of it. If we have new teachers, I would like to spend more time with them and really provide resources and all the things they may need. If they need emotional support from somebody at work, like I want to talk with them. So kind of giving a lot more face-to-face time, if that makes sense. But the promoting equity, really working with our staff, like to make sure that they're taking all the kids' needs into consideration and their teammates' needs into consideration. And Jasmine, I'm reading yours. That's great. Yeah, just a thought about school culture. It is important to know your students and families as well. We need to approach them as part of the team. Absolutely. People talk, I can't read it. People talk, and we want the community to see and understand the good things we may be doing in our schools. Yes. And I wish that I'm not great about sending out like part of like to the school community, like, fourth grade, finish the medieval unit. Like I'm not that great about doing that. It's just mostly other things, but that is such a good idea to send that out. Our teachers do a lot of that. We work really hard here to make positive phone calls home and to send weekly emails or remind messages about the great things that are happening in our schools. But yeah, you made a great point. Renee. Do PLCs meet during the day, such as when students are in pullouts, or is this done in a designated time before or after school? That's a great question, Renee. Our PLCs meet on Tuesday and Thursday mornings. So with our negotiated agreement, we have a certain number of hours we can go above from a teacher's contract during the week. Monthly. And so we use that for PLC. So we do our PLCs at 8:15 on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Our students arrive at 9:05. So we are a late start school. There are pros and cons to that. But that's when our PLCs meet. And our support staff attends those as well. And our SE teachers attends those. And so it's very, equitable across, like from the negotiated agreement part. And then this was set by all the late schools in Rio Rancho, all the elementary late schools in Rio Rancho. We all have the same schedule and the same meeting schedule, and then district approved that.
Jasmine?
Hi. So I wanted to add to what I meant by that. I couldn't figure out how to unmute myself, and then I realized I just need to raise my hand. So I just wanted to provide some feedback that I've heard because I work at like 6 different sites, and so I hear feedback from students and families and then my own community. And so one of the things that we had at a school that I was at before, a prior principal, would just be like, student, go to class. Student, where are you going? And never took the time to learn kids' names. And then I've been on campuses where it's like, hey, Kelly, like, how's it going? And then even to the point, on the smaller campuses where they can be like, how was your first soccer game last weekend? I had heard you joined this team. And just remembering that, like, even when you move into those leadership positions, that it's still important to maintain those relationships with students and families. And then we got a new principal at a different site, and I've heard students who are like, I've never met her. I don't know, what she looks like. And so I like how you were saying, that open door policy, like leaving your door open, but also getting out of your door, trying to walk out there during passing periods if you're middle school and high school. Just some feedback from like all the different sites that I've been at, because some people have been at one, they might have only been in one district. I've only worked in one district. So I just wanted to provide that. And then in my community, like where I live, there's like a neighborhood group that talks about the schools, and I've seen it in Rio Rancho too. And they go on and they'll be like, that teacher, Miss so and so did this to my kid, and then it spreads like wildfire. And so I think just being aware of all of that stuff as well. It's so hard. But that's sort of what I meant by people talk, and we want the community to see the good things that we're doing, because there's people who move in and they're like, I don't want my kid going to that school because I've heard from X, Y, and Z that this happens at that school. And so, yeah.
Yeah, no, that you're exactly right, Jasmine. That is, it's funny. I am on different pieces of the social media pieces, so I can like see if I need to, clarify anything or whatever. But it is so important because our families they're our assets. They're our greatest assets, right? And our staff, our greatest assets. So how do we support them, and how do we, make sure that they know that they're seen and heard? But our students, they're the best. Know your students' names. They get so excited because let me tell you, some of them don't hear their name at home. They're not asked how they're doing at home. They're not asked about, did they play kickball at recess, or did they grow in their NWEA? They're not asked those things. So their connections at school is everything. And just knowing their names. I tell people a lot, like I have to tell you guys, like, people are like, how do you know all these students' names? And I'm like, it's my one true gift. I don't know. I can't remember what I had for lunch. I cannot remember, like, my husband's birthday, but I can remember all these kids' names. I don't know what it is, but it's really, really important. So thank you for bringing that up.
And in the chat, in reference to that, students need to know someone knows their name. I think it's powerful when staff knows students who they don't teach.
Yes. One thing that we do here, and I'm sure your schools do very similar things, because I'm just sure you do, but we do hand out like Grizzly tickets for part of our PBIS. And so we ask our staff to hand out tickets to students who are not their students. So like, we're like, please make sure you're handing out, 10 tickets today to students who are not in your classroom. Just so that they can be seeing all these adults, giving them positive recognition. That's really important.
And there's also a positive comment in there from Shelly.
That's so sweet. You guys are awesome. Yeah, going to PTO meetings, you guys. Let me tell you, that is that's part of that's a priority, because our PTO, first of all, they are the eyes and the ears of our community, right? But second of all, they work their tails off for the school. So every PTO meeting, I'm there with bells on, because they do so much for us, and they really, they help out a lot. So that's part of that building trust too, because when you go into those meetings, they hear you, they see you. You can say, hey, we have had 3 families move into our school in the past week who really need some support with supplies, clothes, food, or whatever. And they're like, done. We got it. We got you. We got them, and they'll take care of it. So really building that rapport with them too. All right. Okay. So you guys are awesome. I am so grateful to be part of this. I'm so grateful that you are choosing to be in this profession and going into leadership roles in your communities and your schools. We hear, you're going to hear and see and experience a lot of things, and a lot of things are going to blow your mind, and your day is going to be different every single day. But I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt that you are who your staff needs, and you're who your students need, and you're who the community needs. And I know that you're going to make such a huge difference. So I get all emotional thinking about you guys starting your time and your journey. But it's incredible, and every day's a new day, and every day's a new day to make a difference. And if you guys need anything, I'm here. Seriously, reach out, email me. Happy to help, respond, and do any type of things I can for you, or give any ideas or feedback or whatever. Email is best. If you try and call me on this number, sometimes it'll go straight to voicemail because I'm not in my office. But just email me. That's best. All right. Well, thanks, guys, so much.